Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Jeff Gripper here with me today. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing just great. I'm just really happy to be here.
Absolutely. It does not take much for me or anybody else to realize that you are a legend. The work that you've done in America and around the world has been renowned, and this is exactly where you should be tonight. I want to say hello to each and every person who's tuned in on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Facebook, YouTube. I appreciate you. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, and drop a comment as we explore the life and journey of Jeff Gripper. Now, Jeff, where were you born?
Columbia, South Carolina. Well, right outside of Columbia, South Carolina, about 20 miles. It's called Elgin, South Carolina.
Ooh, Elgin, like the watch.
Yes.
What was it like there in Elgin, South Carolina? What did it look like? What did it smell like?
Well, you know what? I kind of answered your question kind of backwards. I was born in Elgin, South Carolina, but that was right around the time when everybody was moving up north. My family still have 65 acres of land in Elgin. And when I was, I guess, around 2 or 3, we moved up north. And I think we moved to Brooklyn. Yes, because I remember first going to school, the first grade I did in Brooklyn, New York.
Before we even get to your experience growing up in Brooklyn, New York, you're talking about American history when you say that your people were moving north.
Yes.
Why was everybody moving north, and how many people were moving north?
Well, my grandmother had 13 children, and all 13 moved to Brooklyn. They all packed up, and because remember how the South was,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't a friendly place for Black people, especially Black people, progressive Black people that wanted to get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And they heard that up north they would have a chance, and that's what all of them left Elgin and went to Brooklyn.
Okay. So now, what was it like in Brooklyn when you were in, let's say, third grade or elementary school? How was it? How did Brooklyn treat you and your family when you got there?
Well, that's another thing. My father and mother bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, and I remember we had our own a 3-story brownstone, and we lived on the top floor. And then my mom and dad rented out the first and second floor. And my brothers and sisters, this is before we went to school, and I can remember playing. There was a swimming pool in the backyard. I remember playing in the swimming pool. I remember going out. Oh yeah, I remember playing Skelly that way in the middle of the street. And then I remember I got hurt. I think I was like 3 or 4, and oh no, I didn't get hurt. I hurt somebody else.
Okay.
And I'm not proud of it, because I know I was like, because I was just learning how to ride a bike.
Mm-hmm.
I was either 4 or 5. I learned how to ride a 2-wheeler, and I remember this kid took my bike and wouldn't give it to me. And I remember getting a stick and hitting him in the head, and it hurt him kind of pretty bad. And I got my bike, but I remember the grown-up saying, "Yeah, he got his bike back."
Hey, so what would you say that growing up in Brooklyn was tough? That there were all kinds of people around, and you had to figure out how you were going to grow up successfully in Brooklyn.
Well, even then, I only stayed there until I was in the 2nd grade, and
Okay.
we moved from Brooklyn to a place in upstate New York in the Catskill Mountains. And I remember I was the only Black person in my class. My brother,
Wow.
my brother and I, because we were the oldest, we were in school. I was in the second grade. He was in the third, and my other siblings didn't go. But I remember being the only black person. We were the only black family in the school,
Mhm.
and I can remember how the teacher treated me. It wasn't nice. Even the kids, because I remember I used to do things to try to get attention, or at least to fit in, because I was real nervous. And I remember she kind of berated me once,
Mhm.
and and uh, and then it kind of shook me a little bit. But then I remember finishing the year. I did really well in school, and then we moved um, um, to Connecticut, New York. I mean, not
No,
Connecticut,
Connecticut. Yeah.
Hartford, Connecticut.
Mhm.
Hartford, Connecticut. Then we moved to Hartford, Connecticut. Um, I I think I was in the I think I was in the sixth grade, the fifth or sixth. No. I was in the fourth grade. I was in the fourth grade. We were living in an apartment. I remember it was really really nice up there, and I knew my father. He bought a gas station, and and I guess he was making good money because I remember us moving twice, and I remember us moving to Bloomfield, um, um, Connecticut, right outside of Hartford, and that's where all the white folks lived. And like I said, I was back in the fourth grade. I was the only well, I was the only black person in my class.
Wow. Hold on. It sounds like at an early age, your father is industrious.
Yes,
Your family is moving where the opportunities are, and your parents, they're figuring out how to create the best life for you. But it also sounds like you're noticing that there's racism. You're noticing that there is some inequality. There are people treating you differently based on what you look like, or what they think you're made of. You're pretty young when you realize these things going on in the world, sounds like.
yes, but what really made everything better was my mom.
Wow.
My mom was Jamaican, and
Okay.
she was born in I think she was born in Kingston, and she actually went to college um, while she was in Kingston, and then she moved to New York because her relatives moved, and she moved in with her aunt, and I think she was like 17 or 18. That's when she met my dad, and but my mom, I never heard her say a bad word about anyone, and
Mm.
she would always turn everything positive, and she would teach us, and even if we spoke, she made sure we spoke proper English, because I
That's right.
remember when I started going to the when I started going back to the black schools, people would say, "Oh, you're trying to talk white," and they didn't like me because
Mhm.
the way I talked. But again, it was like my mom. She, because I never heard her talk about anything negative, but she always would try to instill in us that we were as good, or if not better than anybody else, and that we should never even think that there's something wrong with us. It's just that people are not used to being around educated black people.
I think that your mother is an absolute gift to you and to the community, and mothers like that are gifts to the community. I want to take this time out to thank each and every mother out there who is encouraging your children, even though they might be experiencing adversities of whatever kind, and teaching them the things that Jeff Mom taught him, which is to look at the glass half full, speak proper English, and go out there and do the best that you possibly can. What do you say to the young kids who are transitioning into new places, and they're living in a new place and they're going through some of the things that you went through? What do you say to the kids tonight?
What I learned, because we moved so many times, And after a while, I looked at moving as an opportunity because when I would go to another school, I had an opportunity to start all over again because I know I've been to about 7 or 8 different
Mhm.
schools.
Mhm.
And so wherever I left off at one school, I would take up at another school. So if I got in trouble, if I got into an argument, or if my spelling wasn't right or something, I knew when I was moving that I could start all over. And when I say start all over, I had a clean slate, and I could be a better representation of who I was when I left one place and went to another place.
That's right. People out there have said that movement is medicine. Can you talk to me about how movement became an important aspect of your growth? Not only moving from one home to the next, but actual physicality, moving your body around. When did you start realizing that there were benefits to knowing how to move?
Again from my mom, because it was like I always had it in my mind I could do anything, but I had to know what I wanted to do, and whatever I set my mind to it would happen. But there was something that happened to me that I need to address that shaped my whole life.
Okay.
Um, One of those places that we moved to when we was in the Catskill Mountains, we lived near this resort. It was called Swan Lake, and my mom would take us fishing, and she would make this stew out of these sunnies, these fish that we would catch. And then one day, my other two brothers, my brother Willie and my brother Philip, I was 7, my brother Philip was 9, and my brother Willie was 5. We snuck our bathing suits in the car, and my mom went fishing on the other side of the bridge. And I knew how to swim. I
Right.
knew I knew how to swim.
Right.
I'd never been in the water before, and so my brother Willie, and I didn't find out this until after. I mean, years after. He said he kept his eye on me because he kept telling me, "Don't go in that." Because we went out back to the car and put our bathing suits on,
Right.
and he told me not to go in that water.
Right.
I did, and there was another kid out there, and he was kind of teasing me, and I said, "I'm going to get you." And
Right.
then I went out into the deeper water, and it was up to my waist. And like I said, I'm 7 years old, and he was standing there because when he was on shore, I was teasing him and making fun of him.
Uh-huh.
Then he walked out into the water, and then I saw him standing there, and I said, "I'm going to get you." And I stepped towards him, and I stepped off a ledge and went down, and he was treading water. I didn't know.
Mhm.
I grabbed on him and I crawled up to him, but he threw me off and he swam back. And then I looked back over and I saw the shore. And I remember the last thing that was in my mind was I called for my mama. And as I called for my mama, all the water went into my throat and I went under the water. And then it got real quiet. And I was
Wow.
trying to breathe underwater, and I was kicking underwater and breathing underwater. And then all of a sudden I heard a voice say, "You're gonna die." And I didn't know what that mean, but I heard it. And then I surrendered to the death. And I remember it felt like I was eating joy, and it was like I was glad I was dying or whatever. And then all of a sudden I heard someone say he coughed. And what had happened was my brother Willie, my brother Willie, yeah, he kept his eye on me, and he ran and got somebody, and the guy jumped in the water, and my brother kept pointing where I went down, and the guy kept coming up and going down. I was down underwater for about 5 minutes,
Wow.
and he finally found me. I don't know how, because this was a lake, and it was like, you know how dark the water
Right.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he found me, and then all of a sudden I heard this high ringing noise, and then I heard someone say he coughed, and the guy was giving me resuscitation, and then the ambulance came. And what happened was I had to stay in the hospital for a week because they wanted to make sure I didn't have brain damage because I stayed under the water so long. But what I remember after, I was like a different person after. Just like when I said I went under the water and it got real quiet.
Right.
But after that, in my mind, it was like always quiet. But I remember before that, it was like a circus inside my mind.
Right.
And I want to do this, I want to do that, and this and that, and then and all these voices. But then it was like real quiet, and I was like a whole nother person afterwards. And I could hear things, but not what people said. But I knew what I just knew things about them that I shouldn't have known because no one told me, but I kind of knew things about people.
Okay. This is absolutely huge. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuned in, we're talking to Jeff Gripper, and he's just had a miracle on the water. And when you say that the inside of your mind went from a circus to being quiet, I'm thinking you became a spiritual being. You became more of a spiritual being as a result of that experience. And I'm thinking about the pressure of you under that water. You can't breathe. And so all of this pressure, it made you transform. And I see that people go through things in life. Life puts us under so much pressure, whether it be poverty, inequality, or just not understanding life. Some people have a lack of certainty. They have fear of the future. And all these things amounts of pressure that a lot of people use to transform into more of a spiritual being. And it sounds like that's the experience that you had under that water. And when you came out of that water, you came out a new person. Now, what did your idea of the future become after that experience?
Okay, so now we're gonna go. Let's shoot maybe 20 years into the future, just like that.
Let's go.
Because the reason I'm saying this, when I drowned like that, nobody in my family ever talked about it. I didn't know anything about it. What I'm telling you about my brother pointing to the guy and everything, he told me this. This was after we got out of the Marine Corps. Me and my brother went into the Marines together, and one day we were in our car, just chilling, and then he said, he started telling me about what I told you about my drowning, because we never talked about it.
Right.
And he told me, and then after he told me about the drowning and everything, I said, but see, while we were in the Marines, I had got my black belt, and my brother, he was a green belt. He was a green belt. Mm-hmm. So we were sitting in the car, and I said, Willie, God must have saved me for a reason.
That's right.
He said, yeah. He said, yeah, I know. He said, okay. I said, okay, Willie, we're gonna make history. Let's make history. And then Willie said,
who said let's make history?
I did.
Wow.
I said, we're gonna make history. He said, well, how are you gonna do it? And then we said, I know. I'll become the world champion in karate.
Wow.
He said, okay. And just like that, I knew that I was going to be the world champion in martial arts. And it was like, but see, the thing is, I got my belt, my black belt, in a year's time. I mean, it was like accelerated. And then while I was in the Marines, I went on like 3 or 4 different cruises, a Mediterranean cruise. We were on our way. I went to the Caribbean, 2 3-month Caribbean cruises, and 1 6-month Mediterranean cruise. And while we were in the barracks, I told the guys, what are we going to do on the ship? And then we said, okay. I said, we'll let's start to do karate. And there was a karate studio right outside the base. And it was 3 of us. We went, but I was the only one that stayed. And I got my first belt. I was a yellow belt. Then we went on the cruise. And while I was on the cruise, the Mediterranean cruise, I mean, it was the greatest thing. It was on this gigantic aircraft carrier. And I remember I met a guy named, I even remember his name. His name was Rick Greiger. He was a 6th-degree black belt in Aikido. And he took me under his wing. He just started training me. Mm-hmm. But he was like old school martial arts where you had to do kata, you had to do the respect, the whole 9 yards. But that's all I did for the 6 months. So when I got back off the cruise, I went back to the karate studio, and they promoted me to green belt right away. Mm-hmm. And then I started going to karate tournaments. And
hold on. Are you all feeling the inspiration that's coming out of this conversation tonight? I want you guys to blow up the chat. Let's get some hearts and likes in the building, some reactions, some comments, some questions. Let's make sure Jeff feels the love tonight, because it's making me emotional to see how emotional you are about your experience with martial arts, with karate, with the idea that with the change of the mind, with the spark of the eye, that you can make history. You can look at the person next to you and say, let's make history. How would our world change if somebody out there looks at the person next to them or across from them tomorrow and says, let's make history? What happens next after that? When you say, I became a black belt in karate, I'm immediately connected to that. I've always thought that martial arts was cool. I know plenty of men out there and women out there. We love martial arts. So many of us, we had childhood ambitions to become black belts. And you did it. Not only did you do it, you made world history. So I'm right here with you on this journey tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some impressions in the chat, because this is incredible. You said you became a black belt in 1 year's time?
Yes, but but there was an experience between that. While I was in the Marines, after I came back off the cruise, I went to Guam. And while I was on Guam is an island that they had Air Force bases, and I was a guard on Guam, and we guarded the bombs that they dropped in Vietnam.
Okay.
And I remember while I was on Guam, I was there for 15 months, and like the first 8 months, I met this Guamanian guy. We became really good friends. We we'd ride, I bought a motorcycle, but we'd go trail riding on Guam. And they had these wonderful lakes and waterfalls and everything else. But for the first 8 months, I just did the Guamanian, meeting the people and living there. But then the next 7 months, I happened to go to a movie, and it was a Bruce Lee movie.
That's right.
Makes me want to cry just to even think about it.
Let's take a few seconds and appreciate the impact that Bruce Lee had around the world. I can reflect on years in my life where all I wanted to watch was Bruce Lee movies. I love Bruce Lee like I'm related to him.
Yes.
And so when you talk about martial arts and you talk about the backdrop that you're in Guam, you're on the other side of the world. As Cheryl Gripper says, you guarded bombs on Guam. And let's talk about that a little bit. We love Bruce Lee, but we're also discovering the development of Jeff Gripper tonight. And you were guarding bombs on Guam. What was that like?
Well, but see, that was the other thing. While I was on Guam, I was the first black NCO. I was promoted to corporal. And then I played football while I was on Guam. And the guy name was Jinx McCain. And I think he was related to John McClain, the congressman that passed.
Wow.
But this guy, he was our commanding officer, and I went out for football, and I was really really good at football on Guam because when we played the other bases, there were the Naval Air Station, the Naval Base, Naval Communication, Guam University. And we would all play. I mean, regular football games like here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And I never played football before, but like I said, one thing about me and Mom, anything that I did, I could do almost better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, and I that's why I knew I could choose anything that I wanted to make sure I wanted to do it. And even while the football, I was really good. And I remember the commanding officer really because he was really into football, and he kind of looked out after me. And then the other thing was while I was on Guam doing the football and guarding the bombs and just trying to be the best I could be because I was the only black NCO that was there. But I would always I would it would be like it would be like our it'd be just like having a guardian angel watching over you, because no matter what I did better than anybody else. I remember getting meritorious promotions. I remember getting all kind of, because I remember they put me on the front gate on Guam University. I mean Guam, on the Guam Air Base,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to guard, whoever. I had to direct the traffic coming in. But the way I would do it, I just made it up. I was so sharp. That's when I got my meritorious promotion, because the people would come through the gate and some of them would clap.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They would clap at me, just thinking how sharp I was. But
right.
The thing was like my opportunity to be. I wanted to make sure that whoever came in that gate was greeted with honor, and that when they came on the Guam Naval Air Station, they were coming on a place that was dignified, and that we honored the citizens that came on, or anybody that came on the gate. So I made sure when I came out, I was like a robot, or now where I would walk out, and salute, and direct them through. And like I said, it was just an opportunity for me to shine. And then it was like I was always put in positions where I could shine.
So much honor and merit is on your life, and that's what you represent tonight. The crispness, the sharpness that comes from passion, that comes from humility, that comes from the integrity of taking a responsibility and doing it to the best of the best that you possibly can, the way that your mother taught you. That's what I see in you tonight. Everybody out there, when we have a conversation with a gentleman like this who has committed his life to human service, it's important to appreciate these moments. Emery Curry's in the building. He says, "Semper Fi, Marine."
Semper Fi.
It's important to understand that this is an emotional conversation because of the hard work that he applied to the things that he did. As we go into the break, and we're headed to the break, I want to raise awareness about the talent that is among us. There are some people who are just excellent. They are talented, and they're in a variety of different backgrounds. They live in a variety of different types of places in America and around the world, but they are among us. Those who are just phenomenal human beings, very talented, passionate, and people who exude excellence, just like Jeff Gripper. So I appreciate you being here tonight. We're going to take a brief break. Everybody, sit tight, because we'll be right back after this brief message. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator. Hosted by me, Cedric Riley. Sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network and our viewership. And we're back. Hey Jeff, how you feeling out there?
I'm really, really good. When I heard the Marine, I had to give him our Marine call.
Much respect to all the veterans out there, the Marines, people who serve our country, people who protect our country, and people who put their all, people who give 100%. I just want to give a shout out to you and appreciate you and respect you tonight. Now, we were talking about Bruce Lee and the way that his work inspired you. You on Guam, you watched the Bruce Lee movie. What happened during that experience?
Everybody didn't know where I was because like I said, when I got off at 5 o'clock, I went straight to the movies and sat in the movie theater all night. I mean, practically all night watching karate movie, and I could see the movements, I could see the discipline, and I could see the camaraderie that people, martial artists, and I seen the respect, and I seen the movements, and I wanted to be able to control my body. I wanted to be able to control my mind, and I wanted to be able to be someone that could protect not only myself but others, but then to be able to reduce the tension or ease. I mean, actually, I've learned how not to fight. I mean,
what's that mean?
It's like I learned that if someone was yelling at me or cussing me out, or what they really doing, they could be saying, I hate you, you stupid, you dumb. I hear, help me, please, somebody help me. And so, to me, an attack is a cry for love and cry for help.
Whoa. This is absolutely important tonight. This is a moment where you connect with so many millions of people around the world. Let's unpack this. You learned how not to fight.
Yes.
You hear almost the inverse of what somebody is saying to you, especially when what they're doing appears to be negative or bad. So somebody is verbally attacking you and you hear a cry for help.
Yes.
The need for connection. Talk to me about that. This is important. Let's open this up.
Okay. It's like, I remember when I was a student at Ohio State, and I was driving towards, going on campus, and this guy was on a motorcycle. This white guy was on a motorcycle, and I'm driving on, and what he does, he cuts me off and flips me the bird, and I flipped in the bird back to him, and he jumps off his bike, and then I got a 3-piece suit on, right, and I jump out of my car, and then he threw a punch. I grabbed him and I rolled him as he threw that punch, and I took him and rolled him. And then I was on top of him just like this. He was laying on the ground, and I looked at him, and then I stopped. And I didn't hit him. I didn't do anything to him. I let him up, and then he went on. And I saw him the next day in the cafeteria, and we started talking. We became friends.
Yeah, because that was epic. Everybody out there, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been watching a martial arts movie, and right before they land, the deafening blow, they decide not to, and it says so much when you are graceful and when you have mercy, because the person on the opposite side of your fist is in a vulnerable position, and you both know that. I think that our society could learn a lot from you in that moment where you could land the final blow, but then you don't, and it starts a conversation. And so I want to raise awareness about we need to learn how not to fight in America. We need to learn how not to fight in our communities. It sounds like there are so many different ways that we are engaged in battle. We are engaged in fight, and it's not always a diplomatic thing. I'm not talking about the service. I'm talking about infighting in our communities, infighting in our families, infighting in our local institutions where there should be so much more love and harmony. And we need to learn how not to fight. And so that's absolutely huge. Yeah. When you didn't strike him in the face, he was like, oh, this guy right here is epic. I need to have a conversation with him. So you built a relationship with this guy, and where did the relationship go?
I mean, we met on in the cafeteria. We talked, and I really didn't see him again after that. But I know we were friends after that. But I had many opportunities where I could have been in fights, because like when I was in Georgia, when I first came down here, I would always be the only black person wherever I was. And I remember going into bars, and I'd be sitting at the bar, and people would be looking at me, and every time now and then somebody would want to try me, and all I had to do was look at them, and they would snatch their eyes off of me.
Right.
And it was like, I don't know. I didn't get into a fight. I never had anybody jump me or do anything to me, but it was just how I would look at them, and they would leave me alone. I wouldn't have to do anything, but I knew. And see, I have to take you into the ring a little bit, and then you'll understand. When the referee takes you out there, and the two guys are standing face to face, and he's looking at you, and see, I'm a entirely different person in the ring. And I remember when the referee is saying, I don't know, no low blows. I want you to do this. But when I'm looking at my opponent, and I'm thinking in my mind, you better get your eyes off of me, because I'm gonna kill you. And then I'll be saying profanity in my mind, and then I remember in each one of my fights, because like, and then I also did Golden Gloves too. I won the Ohio State Golden Gloves in 1977, 1978, and the Southeastern Golden Gloves. I was seventh in the United States, and by because they told me that if I was going to do full contact, I would learn how to box. Right. So I stopped karate for 2 years, and all I did was box. But what the thing was, I only was boxing for 3 months, and I was fighting, and I only had 1 or 2, 3 fights, and all I had 8 as an amateur boxer. I was 18-3. But I was fighting. I only had 1, 2, 3. I was fighting people who had like 170 fights, 180 fights, 90 fights.
Right.
I was still beating them.
Hold on. There's an ancestral power in you. Did you ever look back on your family history or your lineage and discover other great people?
That's what I haven't. It's been in my back of my mind, wanting to kind of know that on both sides of my family, because on the Jamaican side, and I remember the way the Jamaicans were, it was like men had more power than women, but see, they didn't go through the slavery that the people in America did. So Jamaicans have a whole nother attitude, because most of them weren't oppressed. Like, see, most people, we're not, we as black people, we have what 400 years of slavery in our minds, and a person that never had that oppression. Some Jamaican, most
Mm-hmm.
Jamaicans didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that oppression, so
Mm-hmm.
they they have a high spirit.
The psyche is different. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my self talk is not like there's no demeaning, and
Mm-hmm.
even if you hear in my mouth, you won't hear any negative words that come out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in a positive vernacular where I can speak, and then I can speak to another person. That's another thing that you make me realize, because like I can help people, and it doesn't matter what their problem is, and anything that any problem that they have, it doesn't matter whether it's with their wife, it doesn't matter with their kids, or what doesn't matter with anything. I can talk with a person, and I can give them directions, and if they follow them, everything works out, and then there's no time lost. It doesn't take time. But I have friends that who listen to me, and with their marriages, with their children. I have a friend. Um, his mom was real pretty close to death, but they were in an argument, and he wouldn't talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And and she asked me. Well, I said, I'll get him to call you. She and then the mother said, "Oh, you couldn't do that. No, he ain't gonna call you." I said, "Yeah, I'll get him to call you." And and my best, he's one of my closest friends. He lives in Chicago right now, him and his wife. And I called him up, and he started talking, and he said, and then he promised me he would call his mom, and I knew he would. And then next thing you know, he called her, and then she sent me all of these hearts and everything, and she was like, she was she was she was elated. But the best thing about it, I mean, the best and worst, within a couple of months, she had died.
Wow.
And I knew. And then Van, my friend, he thanked me because I got him, and his wife thanked me, his sister thanked me, his whole family thanked me for getting him to call, and he thanked me because the worst thing would have been him not talking to his mom, and
That's right.
his mom dying. But it's like, God, I know God sends me to people, and there's many people have changed their life. Because while I was on Guam, I I went through these sensitivity classes, and then I was on a suicide. I used to do on a suicide watch line, and I
Mm-hmm.
know I talked to people on that watch line that were about to commit suicide.
Wow.
While I talked, and I know I talked him out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so emotional for me just to know that God would use me, and God, and see, I'm a messenger of God.
Mm-hmm.
I know the spirit of God is in everyone. So I don't look for, when I look on a person, I look for the Holy Spirit in them.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then I can see it in them, and then they can see me see it, and then they will remember it because they will see it in my eyes. And then it's like people, they aren't other people. They are part of me. And no one, I have no enemies.
That's
I
right.
hate no one. There's no one I hate. There's no one I have. And then it's like forgiveness. Forgiveness undoes the past. And
Mm-hmm.
if you learn how to truly forgive, because once you forgive, you have to forget what you forgave. And then when you see or feel an attack, that really, then that, because that attack is in your mind, and you won't recognize it as their cry for love and cry for help. But then if you learn to defend yourself, and you learn that they know that they can't hurt you, and if they're going to try to hurt you, you can take the time to give the words that carry the spirit of God in them. Because
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, I only keep holy words in my mind. kind words, forgiving words. And then if I got hateful words, guilt words in my mind, what the only reason they're in there, that means you're gonna need them for later on.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked the Holy Spirit to look in my mind with me to help me shine them away, because He has the light and I have the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through my mind to find the dark hate and the dark fear and the dark weakness and the insecurity and He looked on them with me and shined them away.
Wow.
And so now when I look on people, I don't see them out of my past.
Mm-hmm.
They're like children.
Mm-hmm.
Look on it, and because children, when they look on each other, there is no dark past. There's only the holy present happy moment.
Hold on. This means a lot in a conversation that people are hearing all across America tonight. That you have a mindset that you can spiritually work on. Your mindset does not have to stay the same. You can go in there with the help of your creator, God, however you term it, and you can work on your mind. You could clear the things that are not helpful out, and you can keep the things that are high frequency and high vibrational in. And what that allows you to do is to see the spirit in one another. And when somebody realizes that you see beyond their flesh, it's almost like you're family now.
Yes.
And so this is what I deeply appreciate you coming here to share with us tonight is we've got to do the work of getting the negative thoughts and images out of our mind so that we can become illuminated and so that we can become family again. We often talk about the need to create unity, more unity wherever we are in the world. There needs to be more unity. And this is how you do it. You do it by connecting at the soul of people. I'm not looking just to shake your hand. I'm looking to join my soul with yours. And as one, we can make tomorrow a better thing. Now, I went out there and I found a clip because we're rounding third base here. And I found a clip that kind of talks your legacy a little bit. And I want people to check this video out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now realizing it, we have a living legend in the building tonight. It's a total honor for him to be here. And your work is exemplary of that. So everybody, let's check this clip out and let's get a look at exactly who Jeff has been throughout history. Check this out.
Jeff Gripper is Atlanta's first world karate champion.
Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see this.
He began
and if you can hear this, drop a 1 in the chat.
Bruce Lee movie. In 1979, at the age of 27, Gripper had his first full contact fight.
If you've ever wanted to be a fighter, Jeff is fighting for you tonight. Check this clip out. Yeah, this is what we wanted to do. Get in that ring just like this. So many young men and young ladies wish they could have done exactly this. They still want to do this.
He's going in for the kill. Yeah, McLean trying to get off the rope. Gripper controlling him. That's where his boxing skills are coming in. Just controlling the fight there. McLean, if he was smart, would just get himself out of there somehow. Almost jumped into a shed.
Oh. Woo.
Do right there because Gripper, as long as he is touching, as long as he's throwing the punch.
Y'all see these high kicks? He's stumbling. He's out of there. Wow. Ooh.
The new world champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, blow the chat up with some reactions. As you can see, oh wow. Jeff Gripper is putting in some magnanimous work tonight in the ring. Check it out, y'all. said he's from Elgin. He's cleaning clocks out there. He said, I'm from Elgin. I'm cleaning clocks tonight. The great Jeff Gripper, everybody. Okay. How did it feel when you became Atlanta's first karate world champion? How did that feel?
It was like the culmination of all the dreams that I've had, and then the culmination of what my mom and dad that's what it is tonight. Yeah, what my mom and dad did for me, and then even my brothers and sisters and my friends. It's like when I remember when I said I'm going to become the world champion, I didn't tell nobody. I just did it. Mm-hmm. And I told my brothers and my sister and my mom and dad, but I when my mom and dad came to my fights, because I had to fight my United States title. I defended my United States title in Elgin, South Carolina.
Wow.
But just to be there and to have my mom and dad there and all the people from Elgin. And then I remember my wife, Cheryl, she decided that we were going to do a fight for charity.
Okay.
And this fight for charity, was it Atlanta Hilton? Yeah, it was at Atlanta Hilton. And I fought Ambassador Young in a 3-round fight. Mm-hmm. And because and then we were in the ballroom and it was packed, and me and Andrew Young, Ambassador Young, we fought 3 rounds. I mean, I didn't hurt him, but Andy, he knows how to fight. He knows how to box, and we did 3 rounds, but I had so many people there. But my mom and dad was there, and they were just so excited, and it was like, I'm retired. My mom, my wife, Cheryl, and I are like partners, and she does the Black Women Film Network. Mm-hmm. She actually started the Georgia Film Commission. She started the Bronze Lens Jubilee, the Bronze Lens Film Festival. That was her idea.
Wow. Okay.
My wife, so again, my wife and I are like this team, and she's working one end and I'm working the other end, and it's like we were drawn together, because I remember when I won my world title fight, and I remember I was at the Atlanta Hilton. I was in my room and I was alone. I was drinking and I was drunk, and I was in the room, and I remember I was crying, and because I was alone, and I got on my hands and knees. I prayed to God to send me a wife, and she says it was 6 months later, but I think it was 8 months later. But 8 months later, I was married.
Wow!
But it was 6 months, and then not only that, I was married, and I before we got married, I took her home to meet my mom and dad in Elgin, South Carolina, and they said, "Don't let her get away." I said, "Hold on." But like I said, my wife, Cheryl, it's almost like God. It's almost like when we met, because where we met, she was a vice president at WXIA TV here in Atlanta, and she was doing a story. The community affairs. She was a community affairs director. She was doing a story on the Browner family, Jimmy Browner, Joey Browner, and one of the Browner brothers. I was training, and she came up to karate studio to do the story on the Browner brother that was doing karate, and I was teaching him. And when it was over, as she was leaving out, the gym was in the basement of the Joe Corley Karate Studio, and as she was leaving, she got to the top of the steps. I jumped out of the ring and ran up to the top of the step, and I kissed her on the cheek.
Yep, that's how it goes. Hold on, because This is an excellent way to put the capstone on the top of the pyramid. We are at the end of the show tonight, and you are ending it in respect, deference, love, and honor to your wife, and that's also honorable. I want to let you know, Jeff Gripper, that I've loved listening to your story today. Ladies and gentlemen, get your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat. I love the way that you lived an optimistic life and you gave it your all. You gave 100%. I'm giving you respect today while you are still here to receive it. And I'm giving you your crown today while you're still alive to receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, Jeff Gripper, you are America's next motivator. Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by tonight, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do, just like you did tonight, is stop by and pick it up.